Hello. Today is a strange day because I am going to be doing a book review on a Stephen King book which I don't like. Yes, as much as I love Stephen King, he doesn't always hit the mark for me, and that is very apparent in this book, The Dark Half. The Dark Half was written by Stephen King as a tribute to Richard Buckman, Stephen King's pseudonym which he wrote under for roughly 10 years, and he wrote this book as soon as he got outed as Buckman. And funnily enough, this book actually feels like a Buckman book. Stephen King, in my opinion, is really good at his character work. I love his characters, and I think it's his biggest strength. But when he was writing as Richard Buckman, you could almost tell that he was trying to get away from the same writing style as King, so he made his books very plot-driven, less character. Probably the most apparent book that goes under this, for me, that I've read is The Running Man, which is basically all plot. Like, the characters are nothing. And even if it is character-focused, the characters are just not great, like in books such as Roadwork or Rage. The Dark Half is very plot-driven, and to me, there's no interesting characters here. But you know what? I'm going to save the rambling for later. Let's just have a look at the book's length. Oh yeah, and I'm using super intense music for this video because you know what? This video is about to be intense. My copy of The Dark Half is 460 pages long. So that's pretty average King for me. Nothing overly short, but nothing overly long. But this book felt long. I felt like it had so much filler in it, and it could have worked so much better as either a short story or a novella. I just felt like this book was actually written with the intention of being shorter, and halfway through Stephen King was just like, hey, you know what? I want to make this a full-on novel. What random crap can I add in to make the story less straightforward and less engaging? This book has a premise which on paper sounds great, and I think it could really work if it was in a shorter format. So let's go and have a look at what the premise of this book actually is. This book follows an author named Thad Beaumont who writes violent crime thrillers under an alter ego / pseudonym called George Stark. Thad has a lot more success writing under his pseudonym, and he is pissed when a journalist threatens to expose his name. Thad decides to brush it off and actually holds a little mock funeral for his dead pseudonym George Stark, with a gravestone just saying, George Stark, not a very nice guy. It says it at the top of the book. But something is still not right. Thad starts to feel as though George Stark has literally come to life as an evil, angry version of Thad himself. I think that this actually sounds cool, like a evil version of you coming to life and committing all the angry acts that you feel like you really want to do, but you just hold them and bottle them up inside. But no, this book says it's because it's a bunch of birds are flying around and Greek mythology and weird shit, which I don't understand. It's bad. So the tagline of this book is "The sparrows are flying again." And the book just revolves around that instead of the inner fight of good versus evil inside yourself. I think that would be really intriguing. And when I first heard the premise of this book, I thought, oh, that sounds so cool. That could be a really interesting read. But no, he's just talking about a bunch of stupid f***ing birds. And yes, I know that the bird thing does exist in some kind of weird old Greek mythology. But it's so obscure and tacked on, and the book doesn't even make itself clear on where it's going with that plot. And this is why I think this should have been a novella at longest. So, going back to what I said about the characters, you know what, if it's a novella, that's fine. You're not going to spend much time with the characters. It's not as big of a deal. I also felt like the whole stupid, psycho-pompous birds Greek shit just should have been eradicated completely. It made hardly any sense and was only there for Stephen King to fall back on if he was struggling with the plot and needed to extend the page count out. There's a lot of moments when you're reading this book and it starts to get really dry, and then like everything just stops. But then all of a sudden Stephen King's like, Okay, it's due. It's time for me to add some more sparrows back into the book. Why would you do that instead of just making it a shorter novel or a novella or something like that? Come on! Now, if I do have to commend this book for something, it is the opening sequence. It is one of the most graphic and disgusting things that I have ever read. And it just left me with my jaw like all the way like down there. And that's the thing. The first 150 or so pages of this book are actually quite good. It was nothing spectacular, but it was not bad. There's a reasonable amount of mystery to it and creepiness, and while it was certainly nothing groundbreaking, it was far from bad. Once I got to the halfway point of this book, I was just tired and bored. I vividly remember thinking on about page 200, I was thinking, oh, okay, there's a seriously predictable pattern going on here. If I'm right, this person's gonna die, this person's gonna die, this person's gonna die, and this person's gonna die. And I keep reading, and all those people died. I'm like, this kind of predictability might be quite enjoyable for some people, and I can see that. But when a book, especially a mystery book like this one, like, is rid of its mystery, I don't like it. Curiosity is a big thing as to why I like to read, and it's what keeps the pages turning for me. What's gonna happen? What's gonna happen? This is so cool. But this book just had none of that. This book is extremely repetitive, with the main villain like just making the same threats and very repetitive dialogue all the time. And I honestly just felt like every 20-25 pages, I only just felt like deja vu, just because nothing new or exciting was happening. Now, I am a big defender of Stephen King's endings. Sure, they can be hit and miss a little bit of the time, but for the most part, I think they're pretty good. But I'll admit, this book really had a terrible ending. I won't go into detail about it, but I felt so let down on what should have been a really climactic and exciting finish. It was what was keeping me through to the end of the book. I was hoping that the ending would be something really good and exciting and it would change my opinion, but no. This book gets a 48% from me. It gets this extremely low score because of just how awful a lot of this book is. And even the parts that aren't awful, like, they tie into the rest of the book being awful. In somehow they, like, the good parts of this book require the bad parts to exist so that they make sense, and it's just really not good. I just would not recommend this messy, nonsensical book to anybody, honestly. I hate it. Anyway, that's it. I've finished my ranting today. I've got it all off my chest. It's gone. It's out. I hope you enjoyed this, and I hope I didn't piss you off too much. Just if you actually do like this book for some reason. Yeah, whatever. I'll see you in the next video. Bye.